Hi, my name's Nora,
And I'm Virginia.
and welcome to to Tradition Week, first of all. Welcome to Tradition Week. Tonight's event. Virginia, would you like to talk?
Sorry. Welcome to Tradition Week. Tonight's event is a song and story fest around a campfire.
A little campfire, so grab whatever campfire-y thing you can get near, whether it is a fire, a very safe candle, or a flashlight. And get yourself ready for approximately 45 minutes of awesome stories, great songs,
And our good night song. So stick around and enjoy our virtual campfire. Yeah, we did it.
The next thing that's happening for Traditions Week is all camp worship. Details right here.
Hello. Okay, yeah, that nailed it. Yeah, it was great.
Hello, Shrine Mont Camps. Are you ready for a truly spooky story? Well, this is a truly spooky tale. One that'll make you shiver and quake with terror. This is the story of the man with a hook for a hand instead of a hand. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. The 1960s. Oh, yes, a dark and stormy time. A time where there was much strife like we have now, but somewhat worse. It's important to remember that, but this is not a story about that. No, this is a story about two love-struck teenagers, and their names were Jenny and Jared. And one night, these two teenagers went out on a date. Ooh, yes. They did not keep proper social distance when they hopped in their car and drove out to the forbidden spot on Hand-Holden Mountain. That's right, Hand-Holden Mountain. The mountain where these love-struck teenagers would meet and intertwine their fingers to hold hands. Yes, there they were, in the back seat of Jared's souped-up Coupe Deluxe, sitting perfectly still and holding hands. There they were, fingers in holding one another, when all of a sudden an alert came across the radio, and it sounded a little something like this. Attention! Attention! This is an emergency broadcast alert on the radio. A local lunatic has escaped from the local lunatic asylum. And this is a man, a dangerous man, who has a hook for a hand instead of a hand. And he was last seen headed out towards Hand-Holden Mountain. It's said that he's probably searching for teenagers, holding hands because he can no longer have anyone hold his, because his hand is nothing more than a hook. Please, if you're on Hand-Holden Mountain, get away from the mountain. And now we return you to the sounds of the 60s, the sound of the present era, as they're called. And just in that moment, Jenny, the smartest person in this story, she took her hand out of Jared. She said, "Jared, did you hear that? Did you hear that alert on the radio?" And Jared, he just looked her right in the eyes, and he said, "Keep holding hands with me, baby." And so, throwing caution to the wind, they held hands. They kept holding hands until there was a loud scream along the side of the car. And Jenny said, "Get your hands off of mine and get me off this God-forsaken Hand-Holden Mountain." So they jumped back into the front seat of the car and they put the pedal to the metal and they slammed the ignition and we went right down that mountain. And when they got out of the car, they found a bloody hook attached to the doorknob of the car. Just a narrowly escaping death from the man with a hook for a hand instead of a hand. So let this be a lesson to you, campers. Don't go holding no hands on no mountains this summer. Or any summer! Ooh, 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 ooh.
The Table Where Rich People Sit by Bird Baylor. Pictures by Peter Parnell. And read by Sierra Gore. If you could see us sitting here at our old, scratched up, homemade kitchen table, you know that we aren't rich. But my father is trying to tell us we are. Doesn't he notice my worn out shoes? Or that my little brother has patches on the pants he wears to first grade? And why does he think that old rattletrap truck is parked by our door? You can't fool me, I say. We're poor. Would rich people sit at a table like this? My mother sort of pats the table and she says, well, We're rich and we sit here every day. Sometimes I think that I'm the only one in my whole family who is really sensible. Maybe I should mention that my parents made this table out of lumber somebody else threw away. They even had a celebration when they finished it. Understand, I like this table fine. All I'm saying is, you can tell it didn't come from a furniture store. It just doesn't look like a table where rich people would sit. But my mother thinks if all the rulers of the world could get together at a friendly wooden table in somebody's kitchen, they would solve their arguments in half the time. And my father says it wouldn't hurt to have a lot of cookies piled up on a nice blue table that everyone could reach without asking. But tonight, it's our kitchen, and our argument, and our family meeting, and our very spicy ginger cookies piled up on my mother's one good blue flowered plate, exactly in the center of the table. I'm the one who called this meeting, and the subject is money, and I say that we don't have enough of it. I tell my parents they should both get better jobs so we could buy a lot of nice new things. I tell them I look worse than anyone in school. I hate to bring this up, I say, but it would help if you both had a little more ambition. They look surprised. You can see they never thought about the things we need. Right here, I might as well admit that my parents have some strange ideas about working. They think the only jobs worth having are jobs outdoors. They want cliffs, or canyons, or desert, or mountains around them, wherever they work. They even want a good view of the sky. They always work together, and their favorite thing is panning gold, piling us up into the beat-up truck and heading for the rocky desert hills, or back in some narrow mountain gully where all the roads are just coyote trails. They love to walk the wide arroyos, the dry stream beds where little flecks of gold are found. They used to tell us that the truck just knew which roads to take, and that coyotes showed them where to look for gold. But I never did believe it. After a month or two out there, they always had a little bit of gold to sell, but you can tell it never made them rich. As far as I can see, it was just an excuse to camp in some beautiful, wild place again. They don't mind planting fields of sweet corn or alfalfa. They like to pick chili and squash and tomatoes. They'll put up strong fences or train wild young horses. But they say they can't stand to be cooped up indoors. So now, of course, my dad is asking, how many people are as lucky as we are? But I've called this meeting, and I say, I bet you can make more money working in a building somewhere in town. Remember our number one rule, he says. We have to see the sky. You could look through a window, I say, but they won't even think about it. Do you see what I mean about being the sensible one? Finally, my mother says, all right, mountain girl, we're going to explain how we figure our money. You be the bookkeeper tonight. She hands us each a pencil and some yellow paper. She gives some to my little brother, too, though he'll just sit there pretending to write when we write, or he'll draw people dancing in the sky. And by the way, my name's not really Mountain Girl. They call me that because I was born in a cabin on the side of a mountain where they were looking for gold one summertime in Arizona. They say it was the most magical place, the most beautiful mountain they ever climbed. Maybe it was, but you know how those two exaggerate. Anyway, they wanted my first sight to be that mountainside, So they held me up outdoors at sunrise when I was just about 8 minutes old. The truth is, I still like sunrise quite a lot. And my little brother? They call him Ocean Boy. They say since I already had the best mountain for my first sight, they thought they ought to find the most beautiful ocean for him. I think they went all over Mexico looking for a place where ocean touches jungle. And they had to find a certain kind of purple-blue night sky and the exact green waves they like. They held him up to see those waves for his first sight. Someday, we're all going back to his green ocean and my high mountain. But for now, even though they claim to be so rich, they can't take us anywhere at all. No wonder I had to call this meeting about money. Can you believe my father is sitting here looking me straight in the eye and saying, "But Mountain Girl, I thought you knew how rich we are." I say, we can't get very far in this discussion if you won't even admit that we're poor. "I'll prove it to you right now," he says. "Let's make a list of the money we earn in a year." "How much is that?" I ask. "I'll write it down." But he says, not so fast. We have a lot of things to think about before we add them up. "What kinds of things?" My mother says, "We don't just take our pay in cash, you know. We have a special plan so we get paid in sunsets too, and in having time to hike around the canyons and look for eagle nests." But I say, "Can't you give me one single number to write down on this paper?" So we start with $20,000. That's how much my father says it's worth to him to work outdoors, where he could see the sky all day and feel the wind and smell the rain an hour before it's really raining. He says it's worth that much to be where, if he feels like singing, he can sing out loud and no one will mind. I have just written 20,000 when my mother says, "You'd better make that 30,000 because it's worth at least another 10 to hear coyotes howling in the back in the hills." So I write 30,000. Then she remembers that they like to see long distances and faraway mountains that change color about 10 times a day. "That's worth another $5,000 to me," she says. I'm not surprised, because my mother claims to be an expert on mountain shadows in the desert. She says she can tell time by the way those colors change from dawn to dark. I scratch out what I had and write $35,000. My father thinks of something else. When a cactus blooms, you should be there to watch it, because it might be a color you won't see again any other day of your life. How much would you say that color is worth? 50 cents? My brother asks. But they decide on another 5,000. So now I write $40,000. But I'd forgotten how much my father likes to make bird sounds. He can copy any bird, but he's best at white-winged doves and ravens and red-tailed hawks and quail. He's good at eagles too, and great horned owls. So, of course, he has to add another 10,000 for having both daybirds and nightbirds around us. I cross out what I had and I write $50,000. Now my mother says, let's see what our mountain girl is worth to us. I'm beginning to catch on to their kind of thinking, so I suggest I'm worth $10,000, even though my little brother has begun to laugh. Don't underestimate yourself, my father says. Remember all those good lists you make for us? He's right, I do. I made a list of the best books each one of us has read, and a list of all the ones we want to read again. also made a list of all the animals each one of us has seen and the ones we still most want to see out in the wild, not in a zoo. Mine is a mountain lion. I've dreamed of him 4 times, and I've already seen his track. My father chose a grizzly bear. My mother wants to see a wolf and hear it call. And my brother can't decide between a dolphin and a whale. I remember every one because I make the list. They end up deciding I'm worth about $1 million. I say I don't think I am, but I write it anyway. In fact, it turns out that every one of us is worth $1 million. So we have $4,050,000. Then I realize I want to add $5,000 myself for the pleasure I have wandering an open country, alone, free as a lizard, not following trails, not having a plan, just turning whatever way the wind turns me. They say that's certainly worth $5,000. So that makes $4,055,000. Finally, my brother says to put down $7 more for all the nights we get to sleep outside under the stars. We all say $7 doesn't seem to be enough. We talk him into making it $5,000. Now my paper says $4,060,000, and we haven't even started counting actual cash. To tell the truth, the cash part doesn't seem to matter anymore. I suggest it shouldn't even be on a list of our kind of riches. So, the meeting is over. The rest of them have gone outside to see the new sliver of moon. But I'm still here, sitting here at our nice homemade kitchen table, with one cookie left on my mother's good blue flowered plate. And I'm writing this book about us. I kind of pat the table, and I'm glad it's ours. In fact, the title of my book is going to be The Table Where Rich People Sit.
God's
wanted to jump in here real quick. You may be asking yourself,
Self.
what happened to the Squadouche origin story video that you've been talking about all week? That's basically the whole reason why I showed up here.
What about the Scottish video that you've been talking about all week, which is the whole reason we showed up here?
Yeah, good question. The Squadouche video, the origin story of Squadouche, turns out takes more technical expertise to correctly transmit in a way that Squadouche would want it to be done. And in order to honor Squadouche,
Squadouche.
um,
That honor.
yeah, in order to honor Squadouche, who sees all of our Zoom meetings and all of our YouTube live premieres and has opinions about everything, we will be debuting that separately. So stay tuned. Virginia, you got any sneak peek insider info regarding that?
I don't think so, but wait.
Oh my gosh. I knew it. I told you he was always on our
He's
Zoom.
always here. He's always
He is. All right. Okay, anyway.
Okay.
Info to come. Keep your eye out. Have a great night. Enjoy our chat.
Bye.
Just
Ready?
Guide us waking,
Waking, O Lord, and guard us sleeping, that
that
awake we may watch with
with
Christ,
Christ
and
and
sleep we may rest.
rest in peace.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks for joining us, Shrine Mont Camps. We'll see you
Good
on.
night, everybody.
Bye.